How did you get to New York City?
You mean like what happened?
I think you were born here, right?
No.
No,
I was born in Cleveland, and I was there for like 8-9 years, and then I grew up in the DC area in Maryland, and then I was doing stand-up for a long time, so then eventually you got to move to New York or LA. I moved to both, and then moved back. So I moved to New York, moved to LA, and then moved back to New York. So because I'm a very indecisive person, so I needed to see everything and then be certain that this was the right place to be.
What caused the initial move? What were the details there? What happened?
The initial move to New York was 2015. I was 4 years into stand-up, and 4 years into stand-up is a very classic delusional window when you're like 4 or 5 years in, because you think you're so good, and it's because you're so much better than a new comedian. Okay. When you're like 1-2 years in, when you're 4 or 5 years in, you're so much better than a new comedian. And so you think you're amazing because you're comparing, you have this huge improvement that you've just made over 4 or 5 years. But you don't realize usually 4 or 5 years in, you're right at the beginning of getting good. And that could take 10, 15 more years. So when I was in that like delusional window, I was like, I'm ready for New York. And then I moved here, and then my ego took a massive blow because nobody really cared that I was here. And I was, because I was like so good before. I was like, I'm one of the best comedians in DC. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to crush it. And like, I would do well in shows, but like nobody cares. There's a million good comedians here. So then after like a year, I got depressed. I moved back to DC. I was dating somebody. I was down there for 2 years. Then we broke up, and I was like, I need to get as far away from DC as possible because it wasn't a great, it was like breakup, whatever.
Yeah.
And then so I moved to LA, try something different. I moved there with my friend who also had just broken up with his girlfriend. We're like, we're going to go far away, fresh start. We were there for a year. That was really, really rough. And then we both were like, let's go back to New York. And then we did, and it was really good. But we came December 2019.
Oof.
So it was like 3 fun months. Like we're back in New York, and then, pandemic. So, and now I've been here since then. So it's a long story to a short question.
That feedback, the first time you came here.
Yeah.
For a year, you said you were here?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What happened?
I just wasn't ready, like psychologically. My ego was too big, and I just thought I was great at comedy. I thought that was like enough, and I wasn't ready to start over. And I was taking everything personally, every interaction, every slight, every time I wasn't booked on a show that I thought I should be booked on. I took it all personally. And I think when you have that energy, that's like a bad energy to project into the world. Like people can pick up on it subconsciously. So, it comes off as bitterness or...
Entitled?
Yeah, definitely entitled. I was super entitled the first time I lived here. And it's just because I came from a smaller scene where like if you got good, you reached the top.
Yeah.
There just wasn't enough competition. It's a big fish, medium fish, small pond, So, and then I came into the ocean. So, whereas the second time I was like, I had been humbled many times by life. I was also 25 the first time I came. I was just like so young, and like there's a thing that happens when you start very young in comedy where everyone's just like, this is a hot new comic. They're going to be so good. They're so young. And it's like you get wrapped up in that. It becomes part of your identity. But the second time I came, I was 30, and I was like, I'm no longer a young comedian. There's no qualifier anymore. I'm just a comedian.
Yeah.
And it makes you be like, well, now I'm competing with everyone in the world. And there's no like, this is a young person qualifier. So it just humbles you. And then that's a much better energy to approach the city with.
What were your expectations the first time you came here? I don't know if you remember clearly what you expected to happen, but if you can, what did you expect?
Oh, I remember. Yeah, because I was coming off, I had just like won or come in the finals of some like big comedy competitions, big comedy festivals. I was like, it felt like I was on the verge of some real industry, what do you call it? Like heat. And within a few months of getting here, I was like talking to the Conan booker where like they liked my set and they were trying to get me on the show. And so I was like, I'm going to get a late night set, preferably Conan. And then that'll go so well. And then I'll get a Comedy Central half hour. and then all my dreams will come true, which is not even how anything works. But at the time, 2015, 2016, that was like the standard delusion of comedians. It was like, you get a late night set, you get a comedy special, and then all your dreams will come true. But even back then, that's not how it worked. But that's just how people thought back then.
How did you take the negative feedback when that didn't happen? Do you remember pretty clearly how was it devastating or offensive?
Yeah, I think I was bummed out, but I have like my ego being too big at the beginning. My ego's already pretty healthy. So like getting knocked down a peg, it probably just put me in like a normal zone where I was like, okay, I'm funny, but I got to work hard. I got to figure out how to make something happen. I got to start making stuff. And I knew even in 2016, I knew internet stuff was really important. And it was like, that was the key, but it still took me many years before I like got over my insecurities to start doing it.
When you got here the first time, were you trying also to get, I'm learning this as I talk to more stand-up comedians, but getting past at certain clubs, was that a goal of yours? Were you going around the city trying to get into the scene here or not necessarily?
Not really. And actually, this is similar to my mindset now, but back then I was like, I'll get the late night set and then I'll get passed at places. I never was of the mindset where I was like, I'll just hang out at a club and just grind and network and get past at the club, because it always seemed like a very short-sighted thing to me, because I knew that the people that had staying power at clubs had external credits or some other things, and just getting past at a club because you're past at that club seemed very like flighty and not permanent. So, and that's kind of how I feel now, where I'm like, I don't focus on getting past at clubs, because I'm like, if I could just blow up online and have a massive following, I'll get past at clubs and I'll stay past at clubs. Does that make sense?
You're kind of creating the leverage for yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because if you get big enough online now, like, you have the power. The clubs are worried about pissing you off, not the other way around. So, and I'm a sensitive guy. I don't want to be at these clubs being like, I hope they like me. I hope I did the right thing. Am I standing in the right place right now? Yeah. So I hate that feeling. And also, if you feel free at a show, you're going to be funnier. It's momentum. It's like in comedy, the better things are going, the better they go. Yeah. So, because it's so much tied to your mood.
What was the LA scene like?
Horrible. Maybe it works for other people, but I just
were you doing stand-up out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing maybe one show a month out of the goodness of my friends who had good shows. They would put me on the shows. I really had absolutely nothing going on out there. I would go to open mics sometimes. They were very depressing, because LA, it felt like the open mics were drawing people from every field of performance art who had hit rock bottom.
Oh my God.
Just like, theater, puppeteers, music. Everyone was just like, well, I can always do stand-up. And the barrier to entry to a comedy open mic is nothing. So just, a lot of crazy people just showing up, and because there's a lot of, LA's full of people with broken dreams. Whereas New York is like, there's all types of people here. Yeah. LA is like, a lot of people were like, I'm going to make it big. And now they're like, it's 20 years later and they're like, I'm going to go do stand-up. And it's like, okay. So yeah, it took a month to know that it was the wrong place, but it took a year to leave. Because that's how long a lease is. Yeah.
What was most depressing about those stand-up experiences? Was it just being associated with people that clearly are not succeeding?
No, that doesn't bother me at all. It just was like not enough stage time to develop stuff. And then it seemed like, I've heard it's different now. I heard the stand-up scene is much stronger there now. So I want to give it credit. And all of my judgments are based on how it felt almost 10 years ago. Yeah. It just didn't feel like the things I valued comedically was what the scene as a whole valued comedically, which was just like, sharpness, punchlines. Like it seemed like it was a more of an acting type of scene where it was very like vibes based stand up. And a lot of the shows, I could be just complete insecure projecting. This is what it felt like at the time. And I was young, and I might be wrong. It just felt like audiences would show up, and it was like people were too self-conscious about how cool the space was. Were they at a cool spot? Was this a cool place to be, to just let themselves go and enjoy the show? Whereas New York, it never feels that way. The audiences always feel pretty grounded. My theory is that everyone in New York, no matter how rich or poor you are, is like dodging rats. There's just rats everywhere. So it's just hard to get too much in. You're like, I'm so fucking cool bubble. Whereas in LA, you could go years without seeing a rat.
Yeah.
You know? And you could live up on the hills in a nice house and drive to the place and then show up and you're like, I'm so fucking cool. All my clothes are so cool. And it's just, I don't know, New York there's an automatic like grounding filter to everyone.
And we're all smushed together.
Yeah.
Everybody takes the subway.
Yeah, you got to take the subway. And it's just gross. And like, it just puts people in a good mindset for comedy.
Did you ever lose? You talked about how you had a healthy ego. When you were in LA and at some of these lower moments, did you ever lose that confidence? Did you almost ever quit?
No, I've never almost quit. 6 months in, I thought for a moment about quitting when I started in Atlanta, but that was it. And that was like the worst show I could possibly do. So
what happened?
There's a club down there called the Uptown Comedy Corner, which it's similar to like the Apollo, like in Harlem.
Yeah.
And so
it's classic.
Yeah, and I went on to like amateur night and I just got booed like crazy. And it felt really, really bad. And I was like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't do this. But then like within like a couple hours, I was like, nah, whatever.
Did you deserve the booze?
For sure. I was 6 months in. And everyone in Atlanta knew. They were like, the Uptown's a very difficult room to do. You got to really bring it. And I was like, I'm so good at stand-up. So, and when I didn't quit after that, I like knew. And it's always carried me where I was like, I knew nothing will make me quit. If that didn't make me quit, which was like the most humiliating moment of my stand-up life, like I'm fine.
Were you always a funny kid?
Yes, but my family didn't really see it until later. It's like I'm the youngest of 5 brothers.
Wow.
It's very common. There's a lot of comedians that are the youngest of big families. It's like there's theories as to why, but just because you're kind of sitting around watching people, and it's hard. If the family's big enough, I really think you're less of like the baby, and it's more just you're trying to get attention. And so with my family, it's like I was trying to always be funny, but they just never respected me. But outside with my friends and stuff, I was for sure a very funny kid. Because I was kind of an outlet, and I would use everything I learned from my brothers, who were very funny, and I would just use it out in the world with my friends.
Do you have comedians in your family? Was it a big part of your extended family?
My dad tried to be a comedian a little bit when he was like, what do you call it? In college, he did like college radio and theater and stuff like that. And it's like dad lore, like things you don't find out until way too late. Yeah. So yeah, he told me like a few years ago, he's like, yeah, we like pitched this script to Mel Brooks, and I'm like, what the fuck? I've been doing comedy like 15 years. Why did you never bring this up? And then, but nothing happened. And he was like a writer. And then, what's it called? I have another brother that for sure could have been a comedian if he wanted to. So it's like, it's in the family, and everyone loves comedy a lot.
When you started stand-up for the first time, did you always get a sense from the beginning, like you have a knack for this, that there was something about it that not everybody can do this well, that you believed you had that maybe other people didn't?
I believed that I had it, but for like a good 2 months, nobody thought I did. Like I started in Atlanta and the scene was so mean to me. And I found out later that people in the scene had like been jokingly like making bets about like how soon I would quit. So, but it's because I was so nervous that I had a really bad like stage presence and really bad stage fright. And I felt like frozen on stage. And I was 20 when I started, so I couldn't like even drink to like, try and get more comfortable. So I was just like sober, very young, very scared. And I grew up Orthodox Jewish, so at the time I was still religious, and I was going on stage wearing a yarmulke, like in the South, where there's not a lot of Jews, and they don't even know what that is. So I think a lot of the Atlanta scene initially thought I was doing like a novelty act. Yeah. But I would never address it, because to me it was normal. So imagine you're just in the South, you've maybe never met a Jew before, and then this young Jewish kid gets on stage wearing a hat, you don't know what it is. And then he just starts talking about Batman. And you're like, what is he going to acknowledge the hat? What the fuck is going on? So that was like my first year. And there were a few people that were very nice to me that believed in me. But most of that scene, it was like, I really felt like they all thought I was like bad. And then I moved to DC after a year, and and I stopped wearing a yarmulke. That's when I stopped being religious. And it was like instantaneously, all these people were like, this guy has good jokes. And then, because I remember people were offering me to feature. I don't know how familiar you are with the comedy show structure.
Not really. I'd love to hear it.
A standard like headlining show, you have a host, a middle act, which is also called the feature act, and then the headliner.
Yeah.
So when I moved to DC, nobody in Atlanta would even let me host like a comedy club or even do a guest spot. And then I moved to DC and people were asking me to feature. So it was like I had jumped 2 tiers basically without doing anything other than just not being obviously religious and not addressing it, which was a weird thing. And also just suddenly being in a different part of the country, which is DC. It's very liberal East Coast. They're familiar with like Jewish humor sensibilities. And then Atlanta is like different. It's just, it's always been like my kryptonite is performing in the South because it's culturally different. The South is different. It has been since the country was founded. It's like 2 different countries. Yeah.
What do you make of that? Is it's that simple, like the lack of familiarity with what that hat stands for, Jewish humor, etc.?
Yeah, I think it's just different cultures. Like the West Coast has a different culture. Yeah. But the difference between like mid-Atlantic East Coast culture and like Southern Deep South culture is very stark. It's there's no value judgment to it. It's not good or bad. It's just they're different.
I don't know if there was a moment you remember when you stopped believing, if I heard you correctly, in your religiosity, but how does that in any way inform or map onto your interest in comedy?
It's hard to say. I don't know. I've never been asked that before and I've never thought about it. So this is just me spitballing. I think that I always have a willingness to like, sorry, I'm trying to phrase this right. I think I always have a willingness to put aside a belief system and I'm willing to try different things and I'm willing to scrap whatever ideas I was clinging on to because I did that on like what I believe is the highest level that a person can.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was, my foundation,
your worldview,
everything. Yeah, my entire, and I scrapped that and rebuilt something. So it's like, I think that's a very good character trait in a creative person is the ability to throw everything away and start over and not be bummed out about it. I don't know if that answers the question.
It does. How intense was your religiosity when you were younger?
It was pretty intense. I would say Hasidic Jews, let's say if there's a scale, they're 100%. That's 100 on a scale of
they're
0.
All out.
Yeah, for Judaism, it's 0 to 100. Maybe they're even 105. Extra credit. I grew up like 90, 95. It's not as intense and it's not insular in the same way, but it's much more religious than what would be called like modern Orthodox. And so like if you went to where I grew up in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, you might at first think these are all Hasidic Jews, but it's a different type of thing. It's just called like Yeshivish or Litvish, and it's just kind of like a Lithuanian culture. And my last name is Litwack, which at one point was Litwack, and it literally just means Lithuanian Jew. And that Litwack is a kind of designator for a different branch of Jew. And the Hasids like kind of branched off from the Litvaks. I don't need to get into all the details of this.
Fascinating.
But yeah.
So they share an origin.
Yeah, of like Eastern Europe. So, because Litvak is kind of a designator for, I might get this wrong because I'm not like a Jewish scholar, but there was like a kingdom of Lithuania that included a lot of parts of modern Ukraine. I don't know, maybe Latvia or I don't know, just everything over there. And so there's like some Polish Jews that are Litvaks, and it's not just what is Lithuania now, but that whole region, I think, is also where the Hasidic movement started. But I could be botching that because I didn't grow up Hasidic, so I don't know all their history.
What are the big differences? I mean, we're in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Like we're in one of the Hasidic areas of the world. What are the big differences between the two? I
don't want to speak too much about it because I feel like I'm going to fuck it up. But it's like there's different groups of Hasidic Jews that are like originate from different communities in Eastern Europe. And they usually have like a patriarch and then like a lineage of the patriarch. And so in like Crown Heights is the Lubavitch Jews, like Chabad. And they're the ones that have like their Messiah posters, everything.
Yes.
And so like, that's just, they had like their own lineage of like a rabbi who then designated another rabbi. In Williamsburg, it's like the Satmars. It's just a different group and they have a different belief system and they're kind of totally separate, even though they're all under this umbrella term of Hasidic. And there's other ones also, but I can't name all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. And they all have their own very distinct customs and style of dress. And yeah.
And you said you were raised Orthodox.
Yeah. Orthodox is like the umbrella term for all of this. So like
really?
the Hasidic Jews are on the far right extreme of Orthodox Judaism. And then on the far left is like modern Orthodox, which is like you'd see somebody, they're dressed like you or I, but they're wearing a yarmulke and they keep, you know, basically the bare minimum of what all the rules are. But they still would seem very religious.
And the bare minimum would be wearing the yarmulke, keeping kosher,
keeping Shabbat, observing all the holidays, you know. Yeah, those are the big ones.
Was there, I mean, you said your dad was a comedian or was a writer?
No, I think he
liked comedy.
He wanted to do comedy.
Well,
yeah.
So there was room for levity in that space.
Jews love comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why people ask me if I get along with my family still because they're all religious. And I'm like, I think because I'm a comedian, it's fine. I think if I was like, I'm not religious and now, I don't know, what's a shitty job to be? I don't know. Because the problem is all the other jobs I would pick are also very Jewish. I'm like, if I was a lawyer or whatever. So yeah, if I was something shitty they thought was shitty, there'd be more judgment. But because I'm doing comedy, they're like, whatever.
Did the separation or the lack of belief come from some specific event, or was that like a gradual secularizing?
I studied physics in school. And so just a lot of what I was learning wasn't quite... I was already annoyed at religion because of the rules and because it was like boring. And then I studied physics and I was like, none of this really adds up. And then I did comedy and I really wanted to perform on Friday nights. So it was just, which you can't do if you're religious. And so it just forced me to confront this thing. And then I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Was there anything about physics specifically that was contradictory to the religious teachings that really stood out as like, somebody's wrong here?
Yeah, I think like the origin of the universe and, you know, there are like rabbinic scholars now that are like, no, everything lines up. But then I'd read their books and I'm like, this is pretty like shoehorned together, like making this work. And
mental gymnastics.
Yeah, I'm like, I know it when I see it, or I'm like, okay. It's like, well, because there's like a famous book called, I think it's called Genesis and the Big Bang. And it was a guy who studied physics like me, but he was also a rabbi. And he's like, here, I figured out how everything works. This is how actually, like biblically, the universe is 4.5 billion years old or 15 billion years old. The earth is 4.5 billion years old or whatever. And, you know, and he brings in all these things where he's like, you know, here there's this passage and it says that every day for God is 1,000 years. And it's like, okay, if all that works, why didn't any rabbis 200 years ago come out and say that and figure that out?
Yeah.
Why have you now done it after the fact and managed to figure out how it all works? It just seems like hobbled together, not very solid to me. So
modern science is forcing alterations.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
And then also like, I'm not positive. I think the official like religious stance now for Judaism, and I think Catholicism is like this also, is that they're like evolution's real, but God like guided it. Does that sound right?
That sounds about
something
right.
like that.
That's how I was raised Catholic.
Yeah, but
I think they've.
This is also like, then why didn't you guys know this a few hundred years ago? So what's going on?
You're not allowed to ask that question.
Yeah, it's too forced together. Are you still religious?
No.
Okay, so you never know. All right, I've hung out with people for years and years, and then I'll say something really disparaging about Christianity or whatever, and then they're like, I go to mass every Sunday, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
how has this informed or helped your comedy at all? Because I mean, some of this stuff is difficult, like leaving a faith for a lot of people or being disowned by their parents, but it's also hilarious. I mean, a lot of this stuff is funny.
Yeah. I think just the process of going through it is useful to build a resilient personality. But the actual experiences, I honestly haven't drawn from that much. I had a bunch of Jewish-based material about growing religious for a long time. And then even that started to kind of annoy me. And now I almost never talk about it on stage because I'm just kind of like...
over it.
Yeah. I'm actually like really frustrated with a lot of Jewish comedians and their approach to like... It just to me feels like a lot of people are like throwing their culture and religion under the bus in terms of Jewish comedy. And I just don't want to do it. So it was difficult for me to write jokes that didn't feel like it was people laughing at Judaism. Because even though I don't believe in it and I don't care anymore, I still respect my family and I love them. And I think the culture is interesting, the same as any other culture. And I don't want to, I don't want to be a caricature. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So
what's funny to you these days? What do you look around? What's the basis of a lot of your material?
I don't know. It's never an easy question because there probably is a unifying theme to my material, but I'm like in it. And so I just find the things that are funny and then I think they're funny and then that's what I roll with. I think very simple things are funny, and I find a lot of humor in them in terms of just like food is funny to me, just conceptually. It's just these weird shapes and globs and everything, and people eat them, and then we build concepts on top of it. So I have definitely written a lot of jokes that are weird things about food. Animals are funny. All these simple things like a little kid would find funny, I also think are pretty funny. So food, animals. I don't ever really write like relationship stuff, but funny interactions I think are funny, funny conversations. It's such a difficult question to answer. Yeah, it's not serious. My comedy is not serious. It's very, very silly. But I think I like that type of comedy. And I think comedy that's like overtly serious and it's like, this is important, these are important ideas, this is serious stuff, I have very little interest in. Because I think there's a misunderstanding that that's like realer comedy. But I think the realest comedy is somebody just expressing what they think is funny, truly. Because you're going to learn a lot about the person from what they truly think is interesting and funny than if they overtly are telling you their literal story. So, and this is, sorry, I'm really rambling now, but I tried to write a book a couple years ago, and then a lot of people have told me to like try and write a book about like everything that led up to now, but I really struggle with the idea of like literal backstory because I'm just like, it's just not that interesting to me, even if it is interesting to other people. So a lot of like one-man shows or one-person shows are also, I'm just like, so bored. I'm like, I don't care that much.
Telling their Genesis story. I just
don't care. Yeah. I'm like, everybody's childhood was weird. Everybody had a weird time. Everyone's a weird guy or a weird lady. Everybody's weird. So it's like, just boil down. What do you like and what do you dislike? That tells you so much more about a person is if they are honestly telling you what they like and what they dislike. Because those are like the binary switches in our head that we don't really have any control over.
I wonder if there's any overlap in your interest in physics of like physics is all about boiling things down to its simplest parts.
For sure. Because also I studied nuclear physics, which is the most fundamental branch of like the only thing more fundamental than that is just pure math. But it's like nuclear physics is just like, what are things made of on the smallest, most absolute level? So yeah, I agree. I just want some simplicity.
When you came here the second time, you said you were 30?
I was 29.
29.
Yeah, I just turned 29.
Did you have a noticeably different approach to how you were trying to crack the New York comedy scene the second time? And what happened? What did you do when you got here?
I'm trying to think about because it was only a few months before the pandemic hit, so I'm trying to remember what my approach was. But I think I was... well, I had a little bit of confidence because at the time I was opening for like a big comedian, and then what did you say?
I said,
yeah, okay, and then and then so he like said he was gonna like help me get some stuff. So I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of something connection here, And then, and I was going to try and get on Conan again. I was trying to revive that like interaction. And then I was like, I'm just going to go to a lot of shows and hang out at places where I know people. And then before I moved back here, I'd also done several trips here where I did a lot of good shows and they all went well. And I was like, oh, I have a lot of friends here. I know so many people here. I felt more at home visiting New York than when I was living in LA.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to go to shows where I know people and I like people and I'm going to hang out and I'm going to try and have a good time and figure out some internet stuff. Because even then I was like, I got to figure out some internet stuff. Because 2019, pre-pandemic, people were already doing the like front-facing character videos. There were people starting to blow up from that. So I was like, I know the internet stuff is probably my best path because it was clear to me at that point the industry was never coming for me. So then the pandemic hit, and then I was like, all I can do is internet stuff now. So I just like got really good at editing videos. I made some big projects because that's the best way to get good at anything is to like carve out a big project for yourself. And then just get to work on it. And then you'll figure out how to do everything by doing that. So were you ever a programmer?
Never a programmer.
Okay. But all right. So with computer programming, usually the best way to learn is to just have something you have to build. And then you just figure out how to do it. It's much harder to be like, what are all of the skills I have to learn?
Yeah.
Because it's hard. Our brains don't work that way.
Yeah.
So this was the same thing where I was like, I want to make a short film about a weird thing. And then I figured out how to do everything.
At that time, did you have a sense of where on the internet, the platform that was best for publication, had that been winnowed down where it was obvious that one was superior to the other?
It seemed like Instagram.
Even then.
Yeah. And I think it is. Here's what's tricky is that I think the comedy world still values Instagram, but the regular world, it's YouTube. Like outside of comedy, people like YouTube, and also financially, if you could find success on YouTube, you're going to make way more actual money on the internet than from Instagram.
Yeah.
But the comedy world still values Instagram a lot. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Yeah, it just hits like the sweet spot of many different age groups.
Did you find moving on to Instagram and YouTube to be belittling, given that you're accustomed to doing live performances? I think.
Yeah, I'm from that generation that was like very judgmental of stand-up clips and very judgmental of crowd work clips and all that stuff for a long time, because until like 5 years ago, it just everyone who did that, it was like they suck, they're a hack,
they
like,
have no
whatever.
talent.
Yeah, everyone was just like it's just nonsense. And now it's like the model, you know. And so I think I was scared to do it, and I was scared of being judged, especially by my peers. And then that manifested itself as feeling like I was too good for it, and it was like belittling my thing. But that was like a mask. It was pure fear. Yeah. 100% just fear and what's the other word? Like procrastination. Yeah.
When the pandemic started to recede and the vaccines were out, had you been spending all your time doing internet work?
Yeah, I didn't do stand-up for like a whole year.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it was then available, what did you do? Did you get cracking on the scene and hitting nightclubs, hitting up open mics? What did you...
Yeah, I started doing some random shows in like 2021. It was probably... Yeah, I think I was like, I've always been like a very good boy about certain types of rules and stuff. So it was like, as soon as I got my second vax, I think I was like, all right, let's go do some shows. And then, so probably spring 2021. And then, yeah, and then I got back to it pretty fast. And things were pretty normal by then in terms of shows.
By this point, you've been living a creative life for a long time, it sounds like.
Yeah, 2011 I started.
How are you supporting yourself through the years to live?
2011 through 2013, I was in school or grad school. And then, because I was going to get a PhD and then I dropped out. But so it's like that was paying for me because with a lot of science grad school, like they pay you, you know, you get a stipend and everything. Yeah. I had a TA thing. And then I temped for a bit. And then I got a job working for a government contractor doing like coding. And I did that for, what year is it right now? 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for 8 years. And then 2 years ago, I quit. And then I had some savings, and then I did shows, and just things keep happening to just give me a little bit of boost over and over again.
Mm.
And I'm like on Medicaid, and I'm just like kind of keeping it together. So it's been 2 years of just kind of keeping it together. And even right now, I'm like, I'm about to run out of money again, but I think something might happen. And it's been really beneficial for me. I don't recommend most people quit their job, but I had a lot of good data up until that point where I was like, I think this will be overall beneficial. Yeah.
The decision to drop out of the PhD program.
Yeah.
Was that because you already knew you wanted to do comedy, or you just hated that life and that
It was
work?
so dumb. It was such a dumb decision.
To drop out?
Yeah, it was so
Really?
dumb. Yeah, I have a tendency. It's much better now. I have different mechanisms in my life to keep my shit together. But a lot of comedians, we're like mentally ill people. And so I just got very overwhelmed, and I was like, I don't think I can do this. I think I'm going to fail. I don't think I can do comedy and physics at the same time. So I had a 3.6 GPA. I was fine. But as an undergrad, I had a 4.0. So to have a 3.6, I was like, I'm fucking it up and everything. And so I had a 3.6. I had done 2 full semesters. I was in the middle of my 3rd semester, which meant I had one more half a semester, and then I had 1.5 semesters left of coursework, and then I would have taken the comprehensive exams, which I don't know how familiar you are with this process.
Not very.
Just with a science PhD, usually you do like 2 years of coursework, and then you take these exams that are like everything. And then you pass the exams, and now you're like a PhD researcher. You're doing your research for the next couple of years. So it's like, for sure, had I just gotten to that point, gotten through the coursework, I would have just been a researcher, and like it would have been fine. But I was like, I can't do both these things. And I was 22. Instead of just communicating that with anybody that I worked with, any of the professors, I just made this decision. I was like, I have to drop out. And I think I could have just talked to them and been like, how can I do both these things? Both these things are important to me. And I know this now because people that I felt like were way worse than me at physics stayed in and got their PhD. So I regret it a little bit. But again, it's just one of these experiences where you're like, all right, well, I made a decision and I like shifted everything, and now it is what it is. But I regret quitting a little bit because it doesn't feel good to quit things.
Yeah. If you hadn't done that, what do you think your life might look like now? A combination of comedy and academia?
No, I would have gotten the PhD. Here's what probably would have happened. Another like 2 years would have passed. I would have been like, I really just want to do comedy, but now it's sunk cost. I've put so much time into this.
Yeah.
I got to get the PhD. I would have gotten the PhD, then gotten a job somewhere. It probably would have been exactly the same, but I'd be able to walk around being like, I'm a doctor, So I still think where I'm like, if I can just get my career to like a good point financially, I'll go and finish grad school, because it does bug me that I didn't finish it.
You've been doing stand-up for quite a while too.
Yeah, almost 15 years.
What makes a great stand-up?
I don't know. I know, yeah. I mean, okay. Because I'm trying to be a great stand-up. I'm not trying to be a good stand-up. I'm trying to be one of the best stand-ups. And I know that when I'm doing the best, and I'm consistently doing the best that I can do, and I feel like I'm doing something special, and the audience likes it a lot, and everyone values it, is when I am truly, it sounds so cliche and stupid, but when I'm truly having fun on stage, and I'm enjoying myself, and it's loose, and I'm present. It's the same thing that makes a good hangout one-on-one with someone.
Yeah.
Which is just, they feel like you're focusing on them, and that you're the center of their universe, and you're just present. And it's like, when you can do that with the audience, then magical things happen. So I really believe most of the work for stand-up, once you get proficient, where you're like, you have jokes, you can tell jokes and get big laughs and kind of max out the audience. Like everyone's laughing very hard and they really mean it. Once you're at that point, I think most of the battle is a psychological battle with yourself in terms of how can you stay in a good mindset consistently, day after day, show after show, not take them for granted. I've never been in a long, healthy relationship, but I imagine it's similar to how people describe like being in a good marriage or whatever, of just like, you just can't take things for granted. You have to you have to be present over and over and over again. And sometimes it gets boring and it feels like routine, but it's not. So I feel like I'm in that good zone again on stage. And right now, all I'm focusing on before I'm going on stage is not the jokes I'm going to tell. It's like, is my energy correct right now? I need to present the correct energy. So, because when you slip into the opposite of it, I've done this so many times, and I made this mistake so many times, which is I'll get a really hot opening joke. It hits so hard. And then I'm just like, all I need to do is get up there and tell my opening joke, and it'll hit hard, and then I can move from there. And it does usually work, because the opening joke will hit, the audience will laugh, you feel really good, and then you feel loose, and then from then forward, like it's a good set. But it's already a little bit of a crutch to be like, I just need to get this opening joke. You're putting so much on this opening joke, and you're forgetting that it's like, you are the comedian. You are funny from the moment you walk out there. You have this power. So when I focus on like, I'm funny, what would I do without the opening joke? Everything goes better. So
what's your process for creating material? I don't know how like ritualized you are with your habits, but I'd love to hear about them.
I'm a little weird because it's all in my head. It's not, there are other people like this. I'm not going to be like, I'm not the only one, but everyone does a different degree. Some people write stuff down. But it's mostly all in my head. I have like a Google Doc where I'll jot down random things, but I generally know what it means. And so, usually I have a bunch of random ideas, and then the ones I'll present on stage are the ones that I don't forget. They just keep popping back in my head. I'm like, that's really, really funny. And so I really believe everyone's different. For me, I found the balance is that the ideas that I can't shake are the ones that I need to be telling on stage, because that means I'm probably not going to get bored of them. It's something that's more like fundamental to my personality.
I don't know over time if there are people that either from your childhood or now you really admire as stand-up comedians. Like, who do you look to as the greats? Alive or dead?
Again, I have such a weird answers. I always feel a little pretentious when I talk about this stuff. So you check me at any moment if you're like, dude, you're being kind of pretentious. Whatever. I wasn't a big stand-up fan before I did stand-up. I'm still not a huge stand-up fan. I really liked sitcoms, like Malcolm in the Middle, That 70s Show, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I watched these shows like religiously. And I've watched them so many times. I've seen every Curb, 10 times. Like Always Sunny. I watched all this stuff so many times. Like when I watch these, I know everything that's going to happen. It gets really internalized. I love the bouncy rhythm of those shows that have like an ensemble cast. So that's what I look to the most comedically. And I try and make jokes that feel more like there's a scene happening. And I'm sure eventually, if everything goes well, I'll try and make a show. It would be awesome to write a show. Stand up. I sometimes think that I'm like a hater because so much of it annoys me. But then when I see a stand up I really like, I really love it. It's awesome. So like Daniel Simonson,
I love him.
He's great.
He's one of my favorites.
And when I see it, I'm like, I love what's happening here. I love every moment of this. This is great. And Norm Macdonald, I loved even before the huge Norm Macdonald hype of when he died and everything. I mean, I'm like, that used to be my answer when he was still alive. I'm like, I just love how like dry and sarcastic he is. Maria Bamford rules. I love all the weird. Oh, John Doerr, are you familiar?
I don't think I know him.
He's Canadian. He's awesome. So funny. And he's just like kind of improvisational, very dry and like, but also very expressive. I mean, it's just contradictory. He's awesome. You know Rory Scovel?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so if you like Rory, you would also like John Doerr.
Okay.
And they famously did a Conan set together. Did you ever see this?
I don't think so.
Oh, you should look it up. It's awesome. So basically Conan, before he's like, all right, so for the stand-up portion, like, I feel really bad about this. We accidentally double booked comedians. He's like, but they have graciously agreed to share their time. And then so Rory and John Doerr both walk out, don't acknowledge each other, are standing next to each other, and they both just launch into stand-up sets simultaneously. But they know each other. It's like planned. So their sets are like interweaving. It feels like it's like a Doppler effect where you can tune into one or the other, and they're completely focused and not acknowledging the other person. And it's just so good.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's tons of other random people, like friends of mine, that I think are great. So Yeah. And sometimes I just really like someone's joke, you know? I haven't watched a lot of specials in their entirety. I get really bored. It's hard to sit there. When I used to open for people more, like headliners, it was really painful because it's like you feel obligated. You have to watch the whole show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hate watching stand up for 45 minutes. I can't. It's just, I'm so bored. So, but I love to watch someone for like 10 minutes. That's great.
We talked a little bit ago about your almost venture into being a doctor with Mr. PhD physics.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask again if you see any parallels or overlap between I've never met a stand-up comedian that was that deep into science. If you see any overlap between the two interests, like the comedy and did you say nuclear physics?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've thought about that a lot. Maybe they're completely separate interests, but if you notice any similarities or anything of note about the two paths there.
I think the things are different, but I think probably character traits that help me in one also help me in the other. Because stand-up, I'm sorry, I keep almost burping. I view things really as like nested structures. And so where it's like, this joke is made of these punchlines and these are, you know, just like, and that feels similar to how you view like an atom and a nucleus and all that stuff. It's like, I think I have a tendency to view things down to their components, which is helpful for a certain type of comedy. There are some, like Mike Judge actually has a degree in physics.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't go to grad school, but like, I mean, I didn't finish grad school either. So it's like, there is some precedent. There are some people. The guy David Cohn, who made Futurama, also physics. So there is a precedent of some people that whatever had that type of brain to do that thing also did comedy. I also think a lot of physics people are very funny. There's a like big sense of humor. I don't know. It sounds crazy, but like a lot of the physicists I know are very funny people and they love comedy. And when I go back down to DC, I have like one professor. She like always comes to shows. She's like so nice and she's so like, she's really, really funny. And I have like friends like other grad students. They're, you know, they work at NASA now and stuff, but they come to shows. So it's not, if you are around a lot of physicists, it's not as crazy as you think. Because they're weird people and they think about stuff in a weird way, and that's useful for comedy.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know I know it was a while ago that you were in the PhD program, but what were the big fascinations for you, the big lessons or learnings from studying physics that have stayed with you, if any?
Sorry, can you phrase the question again?
Well, just that's such a mind-blowing exploration. I mean, I typically think of astronomy, which is interrelated to some degree with the study of physics, but I don't know if that study changed the way that you look. It must have at life, or if there are enduring lessons from your study of physics that you still think are fascinating or that have stayed with you that you still contemplate, or maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think about it too much anymore. I think it's cool. Sometimes when I don't know if this even answers the question, but sometimes when I see big skyscrapers and stuff in Manhattan, I think about how, like, you know, that metal came from like a superstar somewhere, and like that's interesting, and you know, but these are also like psychedelic type thoughts.
For sure.
It's hard to stay in that mindset all the time. So like physics is like a very like psychedelic field of like, what is everything? What, you know, it's all these little things that makes up these big things, and it's all one thing. It's bizarre.
I mean, I think obviously most brains are not designed or capable of really taking them in.
100%. I agree. So I think, it's, you know, I thoughts drift in where I'm like, oh, right, everything is one, it's all interacting, it's all atoms, whatever. But it's like, that's not that useful in the moment, especially if, you know, they're hurting your feelings or whatever. So it's cool to think about, but yeah.
We talked offline about the Flophouse.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with?
Those are my friends. Like they started it. So, and
I'd love for you to describe what it is for people that don't know.
It's a comedy club in Williamsburg. It's at Marcy and Grand. It's very close to the Lorimer L/G stop. And it's like this is kind of a new model of comedy club, because there's others in New York, like Sesh and in Manhattan. I don't know if you've been
I've
there.
been there, yeah.
Yeah, of just like low overhead, bare bones operations that are run by comedians. And because comedians understand comedy very well. And so when comedians stop being lazy, which we all are, comedians are like some of the laziest people I know, like we can put on good shows and know how to do it. So it's just a few people running everything, and most of them are comedians. And so it's like I work there, and you've been to a show, like I'll be behind the bar, I'll check people in, I'll sell them drinks, and then I'll run around the curtain, and then I'll go on stage, and then I'll go back behind the bar. And I think it's a cool energy for the comedians and the audience, because it feels like authentic space, which, not to get on a big, soapbox and everything, but it's like in this current era of everything, late stage capitalism, whatever, everything's very commercial. I think people really appreciate if a space feels like a real thing.
Authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I notice it too, because I'll be the bartender, and then people maybe tip a little bit, or they don't tip at all. Then I'll go on stage, then come back, and now they realize that I'm like a real guy.
Yeah.
And then they tip. So it's like, because they're like, oh, this is like a real thing. It's like actually going to a person,
That's a real human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like a comedian. It's like, oh, we're really supporting art here. So, because people want to do that. It's just whatever.
What's the dream with that place? What would you, if I talk to you in 2 years, like what's...
I think as long as it's there, I always want to be involved with it. They're my friends. I love them. And then like Nick Hopping, I've known him since he's the owner. I've known him since he was like 19, 20 years old. Wow. He was like a young kid starting comedy in the DC area, and I was a couple years older than him. And so it's been cool to watch the whole development, and it would be cool to get very successful and still be at that space a lot. Even it would be cool. I mean, these are just like pipe dream fantasies, whatever. It would be cool to be very famous and then still work there as a bartender, because I also very much enjoy that type of work of like bartending specifically, because I think anyone who thinks a lot and has a personality where they think a lot would relate to this. It's very nice to have tasks that are very clear. So it's like I shut my brain off. I'm like, this person wants a Diet Coke. I just have to reach into the fridge and hand them a Diet Coke. And then it's over. And there's no ambiguity. And mission accomplished. Yeah. Feels great. Yeah. So I think it's important to have things like that no matter how big you get. I think otherwise you get out of touch. I'm not good at this, but I also think it's important if somebody can to like clean their own apartment type of thing also. Yeah. It's just good. I think too much ease and comfort is not good for a creative person. Yeah. Because when you have these like mindless tasks, that's when your brain gets to work on stuff. In the background. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going on and on. I'd love to ask about how, and I usually talk to guests about this concept of how you think about success in your career. Again, if we were to talk in a couple years or 5 years, like what does success mean to you personally? I struggle with this a lot. In the immediacy, I'm like, if I was making enough money from doing the exact things that I want to do to make rent, have enough money for food, and then have enough money to like go on dates and be in a relationship, and eventually whatever, get married maybe, that's success to me right now. I know that once I get to that point, it's going to shift what success is. Yeah. And also like I started with some people that are now very, very famous that I don't need to get into, and I'm not friends with all of them. And so I sometimes have that shadow in my head that I know is stupid, and I know it's not helpful, of just comparing myself to people that I don't really like that much that are very, very famous. And I'm like, I'm just competitive. I want to get to that point. I know that doesn't make a person happy. So I'm kind of always grappling with this idea and trying to get to a good state of mind, because I know this is a rambling answer, so I hope it makes sense as I'm saying it. But I just know that dwelling in that space of like what I don't have is not just unproductive and feels bad, but is also like it's negative for creativity. It hurts you. It's not a good space to be in as a creative person. Not that I'm not a proponent of like toxic positivity or anything. I'm a proponent of like, how can I structure my thinking and my life so that I am enjoying things? Genuinely.
What helps with that? With pushing back against that?
Oh man,
that envy or-
it's gonna make me sound like a crazy guy.
Yeah.
Of my like regimen. I meditate every morning for 45 minutes. It's like I do my own. It's like a sitting type of meditation. It's a very classic type of breathing meditation. Yep. And then I work out every day for like at least an hour. Sometimes I work out for 2 or 3 hours. These are all things just to be like good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I eat really, really healthy. I don't drink. I don't smoke weed. I recently quit nicotine because that was like a vice that had been sneaking up on me. So I'm just like, I'm trying to approach my life as like a little bit of like a monk type of lifestyle. Because this is going to sound so crazy. Whatever. I don't care. I view myself as like just a vessel for comedy, and I want to just be as well structured as possible to do the best job that I can to like provide this thing to the world. And I know that my own personal like desires and everything like that are only like hindrances into being the best thing that I can be for the world. So, because comedy is a weird dynamic. I think probably all performing arts are a weird dynamic where it's like, this is a selfish thing. It feels good for me when people laugh. It feels validating. It makes me feel good that all these people like me in that moment. But this is actually providing something of use and purpose and positivity and joy to the world.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's what I actually need to focus on.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of comedians say that's what they're doing. They're full of shit. Or they're just like, I just want to make people laugh. And it's like, all right, I don't believe you. But I want to get to that point where I'm like, I'm just trying to do the best thing for the people. Because I still have a lot of like my own selfish stuff is getting in the way. And I think people can pick up on it.
Really committing yourself to the craft.
Yeah. So, and I don't know what that means for my personal life and everything. I want to be able to have a personal life, but this is the main priority.
Do you feel healthier when you're that rigid and disciplined?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's the religious upbringing where I need to have this like structure and everything. I still try and have balance and stuff. I eat candy all the time. I'm not like crazy, you know, and if I feel too tired, I'm not going to work out. I enjoy doing these things. What I'm into is like rock climbing, which is very cliche now for Brooklyn. It's everywhere, but I like that. I like the people that I climb with. I like that culture also. It's a different type of mindset, but it's very useful for me. So, because it's a very like focused type of thing. Yeah.
Do you in any way view comedy? You just kind of talked about it as this thing you're committing yourself to that you're kind of in service of.
Yeah.
Do you view comedy in any way from like a, if not a spiritual perspective, like a identity, purpose?
Yeah, I think
there's a religion, like a light version of this somewhere in here.
I think this is the best thing for me to be doing as a person for the world. And I think the world would be a better place if everyone did the best thing they could be doing for the world. And even though I was good at physics and I enjoyed it, I think this is better for me to do for the world than that. Because I think I would have had a marginal impact in that. And I was good at it. Like I'm sure I would have helped.
Yeah, 3.6. Yeah,
I would have helped learn things, you know? And then, I worked at a particle accelerator. I was working with like the cutting edge of stuff, but I think I have a better talent for this than I had for that. And yeah. How
did you know you had a better talent for it?
I could just feel it. It was how I felt about it. I felt a joy for the first, when I did stand up for the first time, I was a senior in college. It was my last semester. And it was the first time that I really, really enjoyed something. And I felt free. And yeah, there's no other way to put that. It was an exhilarating feeling. And it was like a bunch of things clicked into my head, or I was like, oh, I'm excited about this because of just what it is. Whereas physics and engineering, which my undergrad was engineering, was just a thing I did because I was good at it. And it was the hardest major that I could find. And I was like, I guess I should do this thing because my brain's able to do this thing and it's really hard and people think it's hard. So I should be doing the thing that's hard. You know, I felt a weird obligation to do it. So, but it never occurred to me that I wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because I was enjoying the process of, I guess, doing something that was hard. But I was not actually enjoying the thing very much.
Internally.
Yeah. There were moments that I enjoyed of like, you know, solving a math problem is very satisfying. But those were so minimal. And most of that actual work in real life is not solving math problems. It's like, I don't know, writing grant proposals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that first opportunity come about?
My friend had started doing stand-up. I was at Georgia Tech in Atlanta. My friend started doing stand-up. My friend David Jaffe. I don't know what he's up to these days. And he was also Orthodox. There were like 6 or 7 of us at Georgia Tech who were Orthodox. And because there's a Jewish community in Atlanta, so they were mostly like Atlanta kids from the Jewish community that stayed in town and went to Georgia Tech. Anyway, so he had started doing comedy, and then there was another guy in the community named Sam Kadish who was Hasidic in Atlanta, but he was one of the only Hasidic people. It was like very random, and he would have me over for Shabbat lunch, and he did stand up, like. And everyone in this stand-up community, they knew him. He was like Sammy the Jew. Like everyone knew him, and he would go to these like biker bars where people are like, it's like the whole room is filled with tobacco and everything. It's still there. It's called Star Bar. He would go to Star Bar and do stand-up, and everyone's like, it's really funny. So it was like David took me to Sam's for Shabbat, and then Sam was like, you're really funny, you should do stand-up. And then David's like, yeah, I'm doing stand-up, you should do stand-up. And then I just went on a whim to do an open mic with him on campus. It was like at lunch on Tuesday. And I was like, that was amazing. I'm sure I ate shit. It bombed pretty hard. But some people laughed at some things, and it was enough to be like, oh, I'm out in the world. I really cannot describe that first feeling. The first time you're on stage, because there's something about stand-up comedy where you are really getting the most honest feedback you will ever get from humans. There is nothing polite about it. It's almost antagonistic, where they're like, oh, so you're going to be funny? Be funny. And they're not helping you. Once you get better and you're bigger crowds, there are crowds that are nice and they're into it, but like those open mics early on. So I think that feeling of honest feedback after so much like not dishonesty, but just skewed honesty in my life of just the religion and everything like that. It just was so refreshing. I was like, I want more of that.
There's something scientific about that.
Yeah, I want to know what people really, really think. And I want to be really, really funny. Because when you get the honest laugh, oh, there's nothing like it. And that's the thing that...
You solved the math problem.
Yeah. And I still think it's like some comedians can feel it and some can't. There's different types of laughter from the audience. And some comedians never seem to figure it out, where it's like the laughter you're getting is not real. It's fake. And then there's real laughter. And it's a very different feeling. So there's some comedians, it's like their whole thing, it's just this like polite, rhythmic, mechanical laughter. The audience knows that's where they're supposed to laugh, and they're doing it because they like the person enough that they're going to do it. And then there's like laughter where you have pulled the rug out from under them. They cannot help it. They're like ashamed that they're laughing because it's embarrassing. And that's like the really good stuff. Yeah.
In retrospect, do you think that first experience sort of shifted your life?
Yeah, everything changed. I like called my family. I'm like, I'm a comedian. I'm going to do comedy. Like, and they're all like, okay. So, yeah, it was like great.
It was that instant.
Yeah, I called everyone in my family. Back when I used to talk to everyone in my family. I called my parents. I called every brother. I was like, I just did stand up. Because people in my family loved comedy so much that it was like, yeah, it was awesome.
Is there space in the comedy world for intellectual humor?
Yeah, there's so much space. There's so many smart people that want really smart comedy, and they're not getting enough of it. So, like, I think Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of the best shows ever, one of the smartest shows ever. And there's just not that much of that. There's that. There's some British. There's a show, Peep Show. Have you seen that?
I don't think so.
British show, also so good. But it's just like 2 or 3 shows. People want more of it. So I think there's a lot of really smart people that settle for whatever is the best comedy they can get, but they want more. They want smart comedy.
I guess those are the trailblazers.
is the people who did those
who
shows.
push the limit, who go somewhere that people haven't been before.
And I think a lot of comedians are like meeting people in the middle, but it's like there's a whole spectrum above that I shouldn't say above, but just there's a lot of smart people that want comedy. If you appeal the dummies, it's broader appeal because there's just more dumb people. So I don't know what to say. That's a what do you call it? Normal curve. So
the bell curve?
Yeah. So, but there's plenty of smart people that want smart comedy.
You told me before we started recording you're going to start doing some history stand-up. Yeah. I'd love to hear about where that came from and what your plans are.
2 reasons. One, I read a lot of big biographies, like dense history books, and I'll read them and then I'll just get so fired up. I just think it's so interesting, these people's lives and all these things that happen. And the more like history you read, the more it fills in all these puzzle pieces in terms of everything that connects to our reality now. So I'll read them. And then I'm telling all my friends all these little anecdotes, all these different things. And then finally I was like, I should just be doing this on stage. If I'm that passionate about it and I like it that much, I'll find a way to make this funny on stage. And simultaneously, I also think that maybe I can make some money from doing this. So, because it's easier to market this type of show, I think, than just a stand-up show.
Yeah, it's unique.
Yeah. So... and it's like a personal challenge for myself. The same way I was talking before about during the pandemic, I'm like, I would just, bite off more than I could chew with some like short film project and figure out how to do it. I'm like, I believe that by making myself do this, the first one's July 31st. I have about a month. By making myself do this, I will learn how to do this. And there's no other way that I'm going to figure out how to do it. So it's a thing that I know can be done. I have a vision in my head of how it would be and how successful it would be. But unless I decide to do it, I'm never going to figure out how to do it. Yeah. Are these good answers to the question? These are good answers. All right, cool.
Recently, what are the great biographies you've read?
So the most recent one I read was about Peter the Great. That's what this first show is going to be about. And it's mainly just because...
remind people who he is.
Peter the Great was late 1600s to early 1700s Tsar of Russia and then the first Emperor of Russia. And he kind of modernized and westernized Russia. He was late to the party, where it's like so much stuff was happening in Western Europe in terms of technology. Russia at the time had no navy. They had all they had were like river boats that they would use to just transport stuff on, these rivers in Russia. But they really had no like warships. They had no ability to do anything militarily through the water. And then they were kind of at the disposal of a bunch of other countries for water access. So like, this is going to be kind of dry, but whatever, I've already started it. So, and this is not a preview of the show. This is me just answering your question. But at the time that he came to power, the only real water access they had for terms of like shipping, which was very important back then, like the Dutch Indies Trading Company, all that stuff, was through like Archangel, like the port in the North Sea, the north of Russia. And so these boats would have to go all the way around to like get to Western Europe. And then, so he was like, I should be able to go through the Black Sea. I should be able to go through the Baltic. And so he basically picked wars so he could get access to these waterways. And then was also just building like a whole fleet and everything. And he reformed the Orthodox Church. It was like the Great Schism and everything. And he changed like the style of dress. And he just kept making people very Western because he was like, we're behind. We're culturally frozen. I'm going to make it Western. So it was similar to like now, and it's a dynamic that shows up in every culture ever, which is like people are split between the old believers and the people that are pro-progress. And so there were tons of people in Russia that were really angry that he was changing everything. But he kind of made Russia into the world power that it is today. Russia was like a joke. From the Western perspective at the time, Russia was like full of barbarians.
Like a backwater.
Yeah. And then he made it like a big deal. So, and then how he did it is like awesome. So, and that I could go on and on about forever. So, but just
kind of like a combination of like a lecture and a comedy series.
Yeah. So
there
it's
might be
like,
something there, man.
I hope so. I want every month it to be a different person. And basically the framework is going to be the truth and like the key points and the key battles and everything that happened. But when I was like reading all this stuff, I like took note of anything that's funny. There's so many funny little weird things. So like, what's it called? He's like obsessed with Dutch culture, so he finally like goes west. He like makes up an excuse. He's the first Russians are to leave Russia and go west, and he makes an excuse. It's like a complete lie where he's like, I want to go to Rome to honor St. Peter, my namesake. I want to go to Rome. And then the Russian church is like, okay, I mean, if he's going to Rome, and he never even goes to Rome. He goes to like, Netherlands and everything. And then he sees the Netherlands flag and he really likes it. And it's like red, blue, and white. And then he's like, that's our flag. And he just transposes it. So it's like the Russian flag is based on his random trip to the Netherlands. He's like, I like this flag. And so there's so many random things like that I think are very interesting that people don't know about. And he lived at a very like pivotal time where it's like King Louis XIV is like dominating Europe. The Ottoman Empire is like still there, like on the verge of falling apart. England is starting to rise. Like William of Orange is there. Like there's so much happening. Germany's like starting to get it together. They're still like scattered about provinces, but they're starting to become like a thing. And then it's also the culmination of the Swedish Empire because he goes to war with Sweden for like 20 years. And at this point in time, Sweden, it's like if things have gone differently, Sweden becomes a world power because Sweden was crushing it. So, but they went to war with Russia, they lost, and now Sweden's just what it is now. So
they would have gained far more territory.
People were like afraid of Sweden. Sweden was like this great power in the north. And then when they went to war with Russia, everyone was like, Russia's about to get destroyed because Sweden was just such a good army. And
the Vikings?
This is post-Vikings.
Okay.
Vikings is like late hundreds, maybe early 1000. I don't know how you phrase that.
Yeah.
For sure, like, just because I previously read the like Eddas, which is like their Nordic Bible, and that was written like I think 700 to 900 maybe. Anyway, so it's just interesting stuff. I get fired up about it, and I know I can make it funny.
That's great.
Yeah, and I also think it's just good to have. I'm very rambly now. I apologize. I don't know if you're going to edit this or whatever, but I just think stand up is just one thing. But it's like a skill set. It's like going to the gym. You're building like strength, and then you can apply it to different things.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it would be good to have a thing that's not just pure stand-up. Yeah.
Yeah. Last question I want to ask you is about advice you would have for your younger self about how to do stand-up well. If you were moving to New York for the first time, or a friend came to you and said they wanted to have a career in comedy in New York, what matters? What have you learned is good knowledge, good advice to have?
I know. The like main piece of advice.
Yeah.
It's just do not take things personally. Almost nothing is personal. And it's good advice for everyone at every stage, but especially if I was talking to my younger self. And it is what I tell people now, because younger comics will move to New York from DC, and I still have a relationship with the DC scene. And they'll tell me, they're like, yeah, I'm not getting up, blah, blah, blah. And it's really hard. And I used to get more stage time, and I'm not getting stage time. And I tell them, I'm like, it's not personal. You have to maintain a good energy and go to shows and be fun to hang out with, genuinely. And then if you're still not getting shows, put on your own shows. Like, none of this stuff is personal. It's just, it isn't. Everyone's too busy focused on their own stuff. So it's just such a waste of energy to take things personally.
Is that the big piece of advice? Is there anything else? Yeah.
Yeah. Almost nothing's personal.
Thick skin so that you can stay determined, so that you can keep on the path.
Yeah. But like, okay, here. All right. Sorry. This is how I'm trying to view things, is like not even thick skin. It's like slippery skin where stuff doesn't even hit you.
Yeah. Detachment.
That you have
a little
to
bit.
like, that you have to be like, I hope my skin is thick enough that it doesn't penetrate, where it's just like, it's not even, it just glances off of you.
Yeah.
You're like, that's all. It's always them. It's them. It's their own shit. It's their own stuff. It has nothing to do with me. And it's like, that's the state of mind I'm trying to be in all the time. It's just like, whatever happens, whatever they say, whatever they do, it has nothing to do with me. So that's why it's like, it doesn't even matter. I want to still have thin skin. I want to have the sensitivity open so I can connect with the audience, But if it goes bad, it's just like rolls off. It shouldn't be anything.
Do you think that's good advice for life in general?
I don't know, because I'm only 34, almost 35, so I don't want to speak to anyone who's older than me. Things might change, but at least up until 35, that's good advice. So, and that's how I'm trying to live my life. I still fuck up all the time. It's usually because I'm tired or hungry.
Yeah.
Almost 90 99% of the time when my mindset's off, it's because I'm tired or hungry.
Yeah.
Because when I eat and when I sleep well, everything's great.
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't take things personally.
Yeah. And eat and sleep.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Sure. Thank you. I hope it was good.
It was.